When you look at the guys who are making my yearly in one check, you start to look at some of the things they do, and it's like, okay, that's why. And I think that's the mistake that most guys make, is that they want to do the same things that those guys are doing without that type of money.
Welcome to Financial Freestyle here on Yahoo Finance, and I'm your host, Ross Mack. Now look, guys, no matter where you are in your own journey of attaining true wealth, you can never stop learning. And that's why every week I'm talking to some of the GOATs, some of the greatest to ever do it. And this week is no different, because I'm talking to my dog, an actual Super Bowl winning champion, my dog, Khari Blasingame. Khari, what's up, baby? How you doing?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm good. Appreciate you for opening up your platform, letting me come on and kick it with your dog.
Man, you already know it's nothing but love. And to the people, right? I want y'all to know something. When it comes to athletes, right, you have a few people that stick out for different reasons, right? When it came to Khari, you stuck out because you were really brilliant when it came to finances, when it came to investing, right? So before we even get into all that, I just want you to tell the people, right, who is Khari Blasingame?
Man, Khari Blasingame is kid from Huntsville, Alabama. I grew up playing sports there. Played everything: baseball, football, basketball, track and field. Went to Vanderbilt, thought I was going to be a doctor. I was pre-med for a little bit. Then went the business administration route of healthcare. Went to the league undrafted from Vanderbilt, played for 6 years. And throughout that journey, man, just found an interest and a love for personal finance, the markets, real estate, just everything business, man. So throughout that, like I said, I found that love, found that interest, and I just been trying to put my thoughts out and help as many people as I could, just in any way that I can. So it's a little bit about myself. We can get a little bit deeper into whatever you want to get deeper into.
No, so I love that you bring up Vandy, right? I got a little love for Tennessee. Um, what would it have been like had you have had access to NILs when you was at Vandy?
Man, I'm sick about it to this day, man, because like you hear some of the numbers, man, and every
Getting
time I hear the
crazy.
number, get crazier, man. Like you see the softball phenom who transferred from Stanford to Texas Tech, just got an M. But I mean, when you look at the revenue generator in sports football, a couple kids on the team getting an M plus, right? I mean, which is warranted because they're revenue generator sports. But like you got guys that might never play, that are getting a baseline of you know 40, 50, $60,000 a year. Man, you telling me I would have had 60 racks a year in school just to have, and I think the outcomes would have been a lot different. There's a couple of things that I think about too, though, man. Like I'm very thankful that I had two great parents who really instilled in me hard work, saving money. My pops, he put me on Kiplinger magazine when I had to be high school. Cause like I told him, I was like, look, I want to go to college. I want to go to the NFL. He was like, all right, bet. So if you're going to go to the NFL, if you're going to do this, you need to know how to manage your money, because he would always say, if you can't manage your own money, you don't deserve to have it. And so that's how I kind of got put on to your dog, and somebody I consider a big homie and friend now, Brandon Copeland, because he used to write for Kiplinger. Uh, he had a couple of articles in Kiplinger. I think that might have been when I was in college. He was already in the league at this time, though.
Wow.
And so I think that my experience with NIL would have been a little bit different than what I'm seeing, because I had my dad there to tell me, like, hey, you probably need to do this. Like when I got a little bit of graduation money to go into college, he put me with who he was with as his financial advisor. And then, I mean, it wasn't nothing but maybe $750 to $1,000, you know what I'm saying? Put it in a little mutual fund, but that gets you interested. That gets you to start learning. Uh, but it would have been a lot more tomfoolery going on, man. I think my first cost of living check, I blew the whole cost of living check on like online shopping with got fits. And man, I got the fits, I put them on, and it was cool for about a semester. You get compliments, you jump it clean. But then the next semester, I realized, like, dang, I got to do this again, and I'm only getting $1,500 a semester. Oh, but it definitely would have been a lot different, man. And So yeah, man, but it's a interesting layout of everything that's going on in NIL, man, because these kids are getting this money. And I can't remember if they're getting it as 1099 or whatever, but they're getting it. No taxes are coming out. They got agents. The agents are taking, some of the agents are taking exorbitant fees higher than the league standard 3%.
You hear me?
You
Yeah,
know,
they take a 10, 5 to 10. And to your
yeah,
point, so yeah, they doing 1099s, but even crazier, right? Like you were saying that some guys who will never see the league are making 50, 60,000. And if you really like take a step back, like these guys and they're 4 or 5, and if the goal is to just keep, I would stay in colleges in red shirt as long as I can and still keep getting these checks, especially if knowing that I'm making more than the average income, right? So to your point, say you're on a football team and you're getting, $60,000, but when you graduate, you might go into sales or something, you're not making that. And so like one of the things we're doing with my Maconomics platform is we're doing a lot of NIL curriculum and we're going to talk to different programs. But like when you sit around, like not only are some of these kids making more money than their parents, some of these kids are making more money in the current state than they'll probably make within the next 10 years based on not going to the pros. And so to your point, it's like, man, these kids, not only, you know, are they forced with potentially having to give money back to their parents and stuff, but on top of that, it's like, man, I'm trying to buy a track hawk. I'm trying to buy this and buy that. So I could only imagine. But the fact that you say you were more financially savvy due to the Kiplingers and stuff, that's legit. But a lot of kids is blowing it right now. And so it's interesting
right.
to kind of see where they at. And like which was, and then we can obviously segue to the pros because the next thing is like, I just saw the draft. And obviously I'm a Chicago guy. And so I actually I got a partnership with McDonald's, so I know all the McDonald All Americans. So literally VJ, Ashcom, Ace Bailey, and also Dylan Harper, and obviously Cooper Flag. But the funniest thing was Dylan Harper, his first rookie deal. He's making more money than his dad, Ron Harper, who was a Chicago Bulls legend, more money than he made in his entirety of his NBA career. His first rookie deal, his son, Dylan Harper. Now, obviously, as parents, you want your kids to do better. But I asked a question, right, that you said, right, you were undrafted when you went into the NFL. How do you think your mindset shifted when it came to managing your finances relative to if you would have been a first or second round pick where that money's guaranteed?
Yeah, it would have definitely been different. So as an undrafted free agent, my first check was $10,000. That was my signing bonus. They took what they take. I know I ended up with 6410. After they took taxes out of it, I ended up with $6,410, man. And so at the time I was in grad school and my mindset was make the team. I know I'm gonna make the team. I'm gonna go ahead and do my thing, whoop de whoop. But I wanted to get as much money as I could in the door, and I wanted to live as if I made $80,000 pre-tax. I was looking at like consulting salaries and like different sales salaries that I had heard, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna live as if I'm making this. So if I don't play a year after this, I still have a couple of years of reserves, right? I think if I was a first rounder, it would have been different. It would have been completely different because then you check off some of those boxes pretty quickly. Like you don't need to have 3, 4 years in reserves, right?
Mm.
Uh, so it definitely would have been different. But I was always just trying to check the boxes, right? I wanted to make sure I had enough breathing room between the time that I ended playing, which I didn't know what it was, so that caused me a little bit of anxiety, and between when I found my next gig, and I didn't want there to be a big drop off mentally, because you know that can like cause a you know, whole lot of angst and a whole lot of mental, I guess, perturbation or whatever word you would use for that. But like that could cause you to have some problems. I wanted to have a lifestyle that's like, you know what? Whether I play here for another year, or the 2 years or 3 years, I'm gonna have this lifestyle as if I'm making $80,000 pre-tax, and this
So
is what I'm
let's
gonna live off of.
I want to put some numbers around it because, right, obviously you just won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, but before that, you were with the Bears. And he was obviously in that room when we were on Hard Knocks. And you had Caleb, our quarterback, Caleb Williams. My signing bonus was 25 million. Your signing bonus was 10,000, right? And so when you even think about like that delta, like how crazy of a difference that is, but the fact that you're saying that no matter how much money you were making, because you were basing this on making a team, you were only going to live off 80,000. What was that actual, say you made the team for the full year, what would that salary have been?
That year, that salary would have been $465,000
Okay.
that first year. That
So
was the
you
that was the rookie minimum that year.
so you would be living off roughly, call it, we'll just round it to 400, so call it 20%. And so obviously when you make more money, you still keeping that same mindset. And so I love how you kind of said it is like, look, no matter what it is, I'm living off this so that in the event I don't make the team, in the event I do get cut, the idea is like I'm gonna have some reserves. That way I don't have to, I don't have so much anxiety when it comes to me entering the workforce. So let's talk about that because obviously you in the locker room with some of the greats, right? You done played with the Derrick Henrys and you done played with a lot of the greats, but people making a bag, some are nonetheless, all of y'all are making a bag, but it's just relative. But the fact
Right.
that you were
It's some that make my yearly little check.
you're seeing people make your yearly salary in one check.
Yeah. When I was in Minnesota, there was a safety, and his one game check, because I made the practice squad, his one game check would have been more than I made the whole year. Which is, that's how it goes. You all pro, you doing your thing. But I mean, yeah, that's how it was going.
I love it, man. So my question really is like, when you look at, the average NFL lifespan is 3 years. The 80% of NFL players end up going broke within 5 years of leaving the NFL. Like the statistics are staggering. Do you think the fact that, you know, you were going in, you pre-med, you already got a different mindset. Your dad had you, thinking about finances early. But do you think the idea of you not having a guaranteed income made you start wanting to manage your money even better than a person who might have had guaranteed money?
Absolutely. Absolutely, man, because, you know, I'm not gonna say that I just had blinders on my whole, whatever, and I never looked to the left and the right. Because at times you compare yourself to your peers, right? But I was also comparing myself to people outside of the game, right? And so I was like, you know what? If they live in this quality of life off of that salary, I could do that. Like I don't need, like, when you look at the guys who are making my yearly in one check, you start to look at some of the things they do, and it's like, okay, that's why. And I think that's the mistake that most guys make, is that they want to do the same things that those guys are doing without that type of money, right? And so, it's yeah, the uncertainty made me do that, but made me like want to be more into it. But I already just had a baseline of, like, for the most part, not keeping up with the Joneses. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't have like a need to do that. That wasn't necessarily my personality. And so I think just already having that baseline, it just kind of allowed me to be like, all right, I got this extra money above, like, these goals that I set for this year. What do I want to do with it? And then that caused me to, like, all right, let's go learn something. Like, I had a financial advisor, uh, was looking at some of the stuff that he was doing. I was like, you know what? I just learned a little bit more. Don't necessarily want to do what he's doing. And I, took off on my own, and it just happened to work out. Cause, I got in at 19, we had to drop in 20. And so it was pretty advantageous, 5 years from 2020 to 2025. And so it's done well.
I love it. Look, guys, we're gonna take a quick break, but when we come back, we're gonna have more from the Super Bowl champ, Khari Blasingame. All right, guys, welcome back to Financial Freestyle here on Yahoo Finance, and I'm your host, Ross Mack. Now, it's not every day we get a Super Bowl champ, right? When we think about professional athletes, y'all spending a lot of money, man. And so, over your career, what has been your worst purchase? And then we gonna give you some time to actually salvage that, and then tell us what has been your best investment. Worst purchase, best investment.
Worst purchase will either be, it'll have to be a car. One of the cars I bought back in 21. Ended up getting a car. We got rid of it since then, but ended up buying a little sports car, little Porsche, man. It was cool. I mean, we got to use. It was cool. You know what I'm saying? Still did it the smart way. Just man, like it was cool. It's fun to drive, but the maintenance on that thing was crazy. So I would not do that again unless I'm ready to do the maintenance and really pay for it that way. Best investment, just in terms of the sheer appreciation, would be crypto. But I think the best in so I would say it'd be my crypto. It would be Bitcoin. Just in terms of the sheer appreciation of the asset. But you know, yeah, I would say crypto. I mean, because I like real estate in terms of the income that you get, and then being able to say, hey, I'm running the business, go through that process and stay sharp on that. But best investment numerically has been Bitcoin.
So clearly, well, one, when did you buy Bitcoin? So let's answer that real quick. When did you first buy Bitcoin?
First bought it 2016. First bought Bitcoin 2016. One of my teammates, and I mean, it wasn't much. I ain't have much money to put into it, but one of my teammates was on it heavy. And so I bought a little bit, let it sit, and it ran up, made like $500 off of it and sold it like a dummy. But when I got back, yeah, like, just crazy. But when I got back into the league, I started back buying periodically with a little bit of dollar cost averaging, and just kind of held on. Ran up to 68, didn't do anything, fell back down, bought some more. And so it's been a good play so far. It's been a good play so far.
So then this should really be right up your alley. So you see that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mae will now start allowing in the mortgage loan process, they'll start now allowing your crypto to be part of your kind of your cash reserves. Will you now, I don't know if you've been able to leverage it at all, but do you think moving forward you'll be able to, actually leverage that and say, oh, here's my crypto. Let me now get this new investment property based on this or anything like that?
Man, with a lot of that stuff, the devil's in the details, right? So it was saying like it has to be on a platform, and my crypto's not on platform. Like it's off platform and it's in cold storage. So I don't know how they're gonna utilize
Ah,
that. And then another
you
part of
got it
that
on
is like,
Ledger.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so another part of that is like when it comes to leverage, I'm not just in like philosophy, I'm not a big leverage guy because especially with an asset like crypto, and maybe it's because I don't know enough, maybe it's because I'm not informed enough. Uh, but like if I, what is it? You can do like 30% leverage on it. If I do that and then it falls and then I get a call, like I never want to have to sell at the bottom. I never want to have to do that. And so I'm a little bit leery and you could say afraid of using too much leverage if I don't have to.
That's
Uh,
real.
so so that's a great question, man. I don't know if I'm gonna be leveraging crypto for real estate. I would lean no right now. I would lean no right now because one, I don't want to put it back on brokerages and platforms based on the ones that they accept. And then, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of a whole lot of leverage on my balance sheet anyway.
You talking that talk, bro. You could tell you know what you're talking about in investing. So let's think about this, right? You obviously are a father, two beautiful daughters. Let's talk about it. How are you thinking about approaching building generational wealth for your children as a person that, because the average person, when it comes to making money, a professional athlete, it's like in those early years, you make a lot, and then it starts to kind of trickle down in the sense of like you're retired, and therefore you're making a little less money. But like, kind of, what are some of the secrets that you've been doing early on to ensure that your kids are going to be straight for life?
Well, one is investing for the long term. And I think that that's something you encourage your audience to do. And so it's definitely doing that, utilizing the different tax advantage structures out there, Roth IRAs, 529s, to be able to, pass wealth to them. And then also just having people on my team and having the lawyers and having the proper structure from an estate planning standpoint, uh, to always know that, okay, in the event that I pass, there's a there's a guideline, there's rails, and then understanding from an insurance standpoint, like, okay, I mentioned balance sheet earlier. Like, okay, in the event that, I do click up out of here, I want to make sure that they're okay. And, to be able to cover these homes and cover, the different things and, move forward. But I think all of that is just about education too. Like you can't do all that and then not educate them and not give them the not give them the tools and the foundation to be able to manage it, much like, my mom and dad and, my grandparents did for me. So it will really be encompassing all of that, man. And just, having a plan, communicating the plan, and, just making sure they are locked in step with what we're doing, and, making sure that they have a plan to work and earn, build their own pile. Because at the end of the day, it's my pile. I built this pile, right? So they'll get some of it, but I'm gonna enjoy it too. Much like we all want to do, right? But make sure that they have the tools necessary to go out and you know, build their own fortress, their own financial fortress, if you want to call it that.
Well, early in this episode, I was saying how I gravitated towards you because you have a different mindset, and clearly you can hear it as you talk, bro. So I obviously just want to tip my hat and commend you because, it's not often I'm talking to the Brandon Copelands and the Khari Blasingame of the world, and y'all really getting to it. And so now my question really, like, for the, probably my maybe last question is like, what's next for Khari, right? You done did 6 years in the league. I'm sure you could do 7, 8 more, right? But like, what would you say is next for you? What you working on right now?
Well, first, I just appreciate you saying that, man. For you to even put me in the same conversation as Brandon Copeland, and then for you to say that, you somebody who's put me on a lot of games. So I really appreciate you saying that. Um, and so what's next, man? I have some ideas about what I want to do from, like, an employment standpoint, but I just know the overall theme is, like, I want to be positioned to help young athletes, just get to 15, 20 years down the road, and they can look back and be like, yo, I made these decisions because he helped me. Like, I like being in that position to help people. You know what I'm saying? I've done that a couple times in the league with teammates, and, you get a call 2 years down the road and be like, hey, man, that thing you told me to do, that helped me make money. Like, I made whoop-de-whoop off of this. And that's a good feeling. And so I think, whether I play again, which, if the right opportunity presents itself, I definitely go out there and get back in the fight. But if not, man, no better way than to wrap it up on the Super Bowl and move into a phase of, recreating that feeling of helping people that I've got to feel before. So
I appreciate you coming on the show, man. It's nothing but love. And that's
appreciate
it
the
for this
opportunity,
episode,
man.
people. We got to tip our hat to the Super Bowl champ. He already said offline that I get to get the ring at least 3, 4 times a year. You know what I'm saying? We gonna see get that ring. You know what I mean? I get 1% of it. But nonetheless, bro, I appreciate you. And that's it for this episode, people. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this episode. You already know each and every week we here. This is Financial Freestyle on Yahoo Finance.
This content was not intended to be financial advice and should not be used as a substitute for professional financial services.